Welcome to the Committee of the Whole meeting Tuesday, August 26, 2025 at 4:45 p.m. due to technical difficulties in council chambers and via Zoom. This evening will be chaired by myself due to Councillor Casey Owens' absence. We acknowledge that the town of Kirkland Lake is located on traditional and unceded territory of Indigenous peoples. We recognize the presence of Indigenous peoples in our community since time immemorial and honor their stewardship and care of these lands. We hereby affirm our continued commitment and responsibility to reconciliation. Call to order and a moment of silence. Thank you. Item number 2, declaration of pecuniary interest. None noted at the table. Item number 3, new business matters referred by council. Item 3.1, proposed amendments to notice. This will be presented by Municipal Clerk Jen Montroy and Alan Smith, CAO. Madam Deputy Clerk, can you recite the recommendation?
So committee recommend that administration be directed to present an amended notice bylaw with general housekeeping updates for 3 readings at the September 2nd, 2025 regular meeting of council.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, you may proceed.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, through you, Madam Chair, through you to all the council. I'm just gonna give a little summary of the notice policy and what it entails under the Municipal Act. Then I'll explain the handout that you received this evening. So required by section 270 of the Municipal Act, a notice policy sets out how formal notice will be given for those things that are required in law and for other things that are of interest to the general public. So the town's notice policy, the current one, it identifies what format the town will notice, so online, Facebook, email, website, publishing in a newspaper. And how early in advance notice needs to be given. So is it 7 days, is it 14 days in advance before that thing happens? And for how long notice needs to be given. So in law, that usually means a regulation that tells the town you have to give X amount of days before the presentation or the adoption of the thing. And where there's no law or regulation, that town's notice policy establishes what, when, where, and how are the standards for that. So public notice is often mistaken with the notice section reference in your council procedural bylaw that we're going to be reviewing this evening. In the procedural bylaw, the notice period is simply for the publishing of council's business materials and its agenda. It's not the notice policy or the provision within the notice policy. Public notice is also often mistaken as a public meeting. A public meeting is the calling of a meeting that is required under law and where administration recommend or where council feel that an issue or issues are compelling public interest, and then they call for a public meeting for other matters. So we conducted a public survey, as you know, at the beginning of late fall last year. And we asked what other methods of communication the town could supply information to the public, and no suggestions were supplied at that time. There was also no mention in the comments on the existing form, manner, or timing of the notice policy. Excuse me. Through a series of misunderstandings, it appears that the perception is that this notice policy, the current one in place, is having an impact on the timing or is the instrument delaying the bringing of reports to council, which is absolutely incorrect. Administration had noted that the existing bylaw is not impeding business and that the proposed 5 days notice may not be considered reasonable enough time to reach individuals who would be most likely affected by a matter of interest. So also members have heard from the CAO on this, that where a report or information is delayed in some manner to come before yourselves at meetings, the rationale usually falls on an operational issue, a legal matter, a legislative process, third-party involvement, or competing priorities. Administration is pleased to report that the public is receiving formal notifications sooner, more consistently, and with much more advance notice than it has ever seen previously in the town of Kirkland Lake. This last statement excludes notices of emerging or urgent closures or service level changes which are not covered by the town's notice policy. Staff is always willing to work with council and encouraging the public to have enough notice to participate in public meetings and for the public to have enough time to review materials prior to yourselves making decisions or passing bylaws. Therefore, there's a draft bylaw before you this evening, as a committee, that is different than the one that was presented to you in July. The proposal would identify the keeping of the existing 14-day notice provision. However, includes a section 24B identifying that where the CAO in consultation with the mayor and clerk has determined that the bylaw needs to be presented outside of the 14-day parameters, that it be presented at least 24 hours prior to a council meeting, for presentation for passage. Therefore, the lifting of notice procedure was no longer needed. Sorry, the lifting of notice, the procedure of lifting notice would no longer be necessary. And that the bylaw would be added as an addendum to a regular or special meeting of agenda. Subsequently, as remains in the existing bylaw that is currently, in place, there is an emergency provision that allows for the CAO to direct that a bylaw receive no notice for presentation and must be approved by a recorded 2/3 majority of council. So, Madam Chair, I welcome comments and questions from members of the committee at this time on the matter.
Thank you for the report. Any comments or questions on this matter? None noted. Thank you very much. So that is the direction moving forward on that one. Moving on to item 3.2, proposed amendments to council procedure bylaw. Again, this will be presented by Madam Clerk Jennifer Montroy. Madam Deputy Clerk, I'll have you read the recommendation.
Right, committee recommend that administration be directed to make the necessary changes to the proposed council procedural bylaw as amended by committee. And that administration conduct a survey available to the public between August 29th, 2025 and September 12th, 2025 on the proposed bylaw as updated. And that a public meeting be held on Tuesday, September 16th, 2025 at 4:40 PM to allow for the public to comment on the proposed bylaw as updated. And finally, that the proposed bylaw as updated and the results of the survey be presented for 3 readings at the September 16th, 2025 regular meeting of council.
Thank you. You may proceed, Madam Clerk.
Perfect, thank you, Madam Chair, through you to all of committee. I'm going to be referencing, in my presentation, I'm gonna be referencing the page number based on the PDF agenda and that you have in front of you on your tablets. So to make it easier. So I just wanna start off with, I'll just wait for the deputy here to get us going with the presentation, so people can see.
Is it speed or no?
I think it's gallery view. Did you share the screen? Cause you gotta share your screens for the presentation.
No.
Perfect. Thank you. I'll let you know next. Okay, so just high level, I'm not going into great detail about this, the requirement under the municipal act, under section 238. Every municipal council in the land must have procedural bylaw. What's changed in terms of what's been presented before you, in the next slide? Oh, sorry, sorry. In section 0 recitals, added were the town's incorporation date, which is January 1st, 1972, various sections referencing procedure, including the new mayoral powers. We identify the public meeting date, which is a requirement under the municipal act, and the repeal of the main and 2 amending bylaws. So that's it for the recitals. Are there any questions on the recitals from members of committee? Okay. The next section is 1 definitions. That's page 23 of your agenda. Most definitions were changed. Important ones to note were committee, ex officio, local board, meeting member, and your roll call is now called a recorded vote. Cause I don't think we've ever called it roll call. Usually we call roll call when we call the roll of the membership at the meeting. So it's a bit strange that we would have called it roll call. So I've changed it to recorded vote. So those are the notable changes. Ex officio, if not appointed by members of council to sit on that board, the mayor sits as ex officio, not counting towards quorum, however, can vote at those committees where he or she is not appointed to those boards. So that's we've cleared up a lot of ambiguity in those definitions, so I'll open the floor to committee if there's any questions about the definitions.
Counselor Owen?
Yeah, I'm kind of lost in finding this.
Page 23.
I'm not sure. I don't see any page numbers, so obviously I'm not. Page 505. Yeah,
I think you might be in the
We're on
wrong
the agenda.
the wrong one.
It hasn't changed much since that publication.
okay, I apologize for the.
No,
I just,
absolutely.
Was having trouble following.
No, it's definitely of great importance that we all understand what we're.
It seems like you do have the information, but it's not on the same. So you said page 23? Okay, there.
Oh, no, that's coming up, okay, I didn't see that
Oh,
before,
no, I know, it wasn't there.
okay. Thanks for the help, everybody.
No, absolutely.
Everybody says, well, yeah, I think, so what was on page 20, sorry?
The definitions.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, well,
We got this.
I just proceed. Since nobody else on council has raised any concerns, I think that we're pretty safe with me not being able to find it.
Yeah, it's page 10 of 80 on ours.
It's okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Here, I'll give you my physical copy here in case you want to look at it.
Okay.
Okay, you may proceed.
We can come back if the counselor feels compelled to want to address something here. Section 2, general provisions, which is page 27 of your agenda. An entirely new section providing for a variety of things. You'll see in the previous bylaw, it was all over the place. The general provisions were based on whatever the subheading classification was. I tried to bring the general provisions all within one section. There are some repeating elements, but they're there for cause and effect so that they're not lost when we're reviewing the actual sections. So, the entirely new section provides for the following, so when there's no rule identified within the bylaw, it's Robert's rules or of order that will prevail. Suspending the rules can be done only by 2/3 affirmative recorded vote only. It used to be just a 2/3 affirmative vote, but I'd like for it to be a recorded vote if we possibly can. It makes things easier for staff and council alike. How members should address themselves at meetings, councillor last name, mayor last name, your worship last name. It identifies the clerk to publish regular meeting calendars as per the bylaw. I no longer need to bring a report to council for approval, so it's based on whatever the procedural bylaw identifies. There's a provision for changing regular meeting locations, dates and times. There's no meetings in the months where election ballots are cast, which is typically in the entire month of October. If there's a by-election, it is from the date that the bylaw or the date the resolution is passed by council to have a bylaw enacted up until the oaths of office are sworn. And then no obstruction to be in council, including lobbying, signage or placards. I missed that one in the last procedural bylaw. We did have some what I would call some activity in the council chambers that would have not necessarily been to the letter of the council procedural bylaw, so there's no lobbying or demonstrations in the council chambers. It's supposed to be democratic place, for council. And then members require to notify myself, the clerk, of planned absences, late arrivals, or early departures from meeting, and my responsibility is to forward those on to the CAO and the mayor. And I did find an error, items after 2.8 should be renumbered to continue the numbering 2.9 and so on, so that was a technical error. Are there any questions about the general provisions?
Um. I have a question.
Yep, Counselor Shabbat.
Can you, your worship, bullet number 2, suspending the rules can be done only by 2/3 permitted recorded vote. Are we talking about that would be 2/3 of the members present?
Correct. And who don't have a conflict.
Okay, so the member has a conflict, that members step aside, will have to be 2/3 of the members present.
2/3 of the members who are able to vote.
I would.
Yes, at the meeting.
I think we should maybe clarify that.
Yeah, it is very, very clear in the procedural level.
Okay.
Counselor Dyken.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I'm pretty sure this isn't the time to do this, but I don't want it to get lost and I need help
Yeah,
to find out when we
absolutely.
do this. So it relates to 2.8 and 1.1 about, the clerk establishing the meetings annually and also the date and time and location of meetings. I just, again, just not to get lost, tonight when I came, I had to go around the parking or around the block a few times to find the parking spot, and I just wondered. What the process is to bring forth a motion that we change our date, meeting times maybe to 4:50, and that would clear the parking and, cause it is an issue for those who can only come at the last minute. I know it seems like a minor thing, but anyways, and the second was, sometimes we have a meeting on a Tuesday where Monday's a statutory holiday. And I think there's difficulties for staff and counselors and residents as well, if there's a question, staff, is away or staff has to work on a long weekend, if there's an issue coming up. So I just wondered if there's 1 or 2 times a year where that normal meeting falls on a Tuesday following a long weekend, if we could have that changed. And then again, I just wanted to bring it up so it didn't get lost. I'm just not sure what the process is.
No.
Discuss that.
Yeah, absolutely. I do appreciate that. And then, because this is our first committee of the whole in many, many years, and first at this term, definitely, we're all gonna get used to it. So Madam Clerk, I am going to lean on your expertise.
Through you, Madam Chair, to the whole council. So in terms of the process for motion for the meeting time, if it's the whole will of committee this evening to agree upon a meeting time change, I can certainly make it so that when the bylaw is presented at the council meeting, that it will be voted upon in that fashion. We don't need to bring a motion per se, but if it's the will of the sitting membership this evening to put that time in, I can certainly change it. It is the same thing for the meetings for statutory holidays. Now, there was a section for the meetings that identify that at the call of the mayor in consultation with the CEO and the clerk, we can change the meetings. And that was in concert with conferences where we have members of council go to conferences as well. So there may be some validity in us looking at, we always do the review annually of what's going on for the year. And we can flag those. And before we publish the calendar for the year, we can certainly consult with the CAO and the mayor to try to adjust it so that there's no stress or added pressure to meet the deadlines at the same time of being in a conference or after a statutory holiday.
Okay.
Go ahead, Councilor Jenkins.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, thank you. That was the part that I missed about the conferences as well, because I don't think we do our best work driving in cars or at motels where we're not sure the internet's gonna work or, yeah, and if we can kind of do it ahead of time rather than changing things as we go, I think it would, so just look at the year ahead and.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not sure what the process is.
Okay, so, as chair, I think maybe we should just catch with a conversation of time. Right now, we might as well knock that off. Conversation, and because it is the committee of the whole, we have some leeway as to how we do things.
And direct staff.
Mm-hmm. So, I have no qualms. The 4:40 was set long before I was on council, personally. We have changed it in the past through motions to later times. At the time, it was due to hoping that more, members of the public would join us, so it was set quite a bit later in the evening. And it didn't pan out to get more bodies to come to see us. We also changed locations to, at the time Heritage North to have it, completely accessible. And that also didn't pan out to the numbers that we had hoped to gain. So personally, I appreciate that that issue was brought forward. The only caution I have, 10 minutes isn't a lot. I just, again, like you, I wanna consider staff time as well, because they've been working since, 8 o'clock this morning as well, so we don't wanna push it too late. Because we don't deliver our best work either, the later we get, but 10 minutes is not a big ask. Mhm. Any other comments?
Um,
Yeah, by all means.
Yeah, I think it would just, like driving around and around to find a spot, and 10 minutes, we would just have our pick a spots, and we also work all day,
Yeah,
I
exactly.
get that, for sure.
Absolutely. Counselor Owen.
Through you, your worship, I have no problem with 10 minutes but I mean, my schedule's more flexible than most, but. Having said that, it makes sense. I've been driving around and getting, well, not road rage, but very frustrated before a council meeting, and that's not the best thing to do.
Any other opinions so that we can give us all the direction to our staff? So far, we have 3. We need a 4th person to have a solid direction.
What I'm
Yes,
supposed to do, nod or a wink or a shake?
whatever. Go to nod your head or say yes. Okay. So there we go. So it does appear that we have a majority of direction that we're all comfortable in changing it by that 10 minutes. And as long as staff do not have any major objections to a 10-minute. Yeah, absolutely.
No,
So-
and if it's the will of council, like, again, you'll have the opportunity to discuss this time. I will put it in as 4:50. But you'll have the opportunity to discuss it as a whole with the other members that are not present today.
Yeah.
Should that be an issue, for them as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Thank you. And I think the concerns about the secondary concerns you had, Counselor Dykens, about the meeting after the long weekend has been spoken to. Are you comfortable with that without?
Yeah, and sorry,
Yeah,
after you, Madam Mayor, and also, the 2 big conferences, well, there's at least 2, what, AMO and, Roma, and there may be
Fun
another one.
and, yeah,
Yeah,
good roads.
just to, yeah, cause it's not that we don't do our best work, I don't think, to represent the people when we're worried the internet's not gonna work or we're,
Yeah.
yeah, so if we can look at those dates too, and then have a year calendar presented.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely. Thank you. Okay, moving on. Thank you very much, Madam Clerk, for your patience.
That's what this meeting is for.
Mhm.
The next is section 3 meetings. This is page 9. Excuse me, page 29 of the agenda. So what we've done for meetings, we put easier and straightforward language for all the subheadings. We've enhanced the rules and actions. Specifically speaking on the loss of quorum is after 20 minutes before discharging a meeting, so where the meeting has not happened. I will have a role, and where the meeting is happening, the mayor will take on a role for discharging a meeting where quorum is lost. An emergency, this is a recital that I've seen in several municipalities, that where there is an emergency, and there's a compelling need for council to meet to make a decision. However, there's a lack of quorum of council because somebody's out of the country, somebody's in the hospital, something emergent. They have identified in their procedural bylaw that the quorum could be reduced to 3 in order to maintain the continuity of operations. I would recommend we leave that in there. It's up to council's desire whether or not it wants to pursue that. In terms of inauguration, there's been really nothing about inauguration in your previous procedural bylaw. I went into great detail, including the order of business, noted in this section. The petitions by council to hold a special meeting, it used to be 24 hours. I'm requesting that it be put to 48 hours. The only reason is it gives staff the ability to really have a conversation with the CAO and the mayor, and not have us having to lift procedure, because we already have it built in, then if we get things to you within a 24-hour period, then that would be considered sufficient notice for the public, for yourselves, and for us to be able to get ourselves coordinated. The electronic participation at meetings, it's now established by a guideline in Schedule B. This is coming from stemming from a number of observations I've made in the last 4 years. Where we've had some technological issues, where we've had, some, and the previous council where we've had all kinds of different situations happen with closed sessions, so I'm just trying to promote a standard and establish some kind of a process in order for us to all operate the same. Mayor may cancel meetings within 48 hours notice to council through my office. Excuse me. This was never identified. We were wondering who could cancel meetings, but it's obviously through the office of the mayor. So I would certainly coordinate that. Conflicting meetings may be changed in consultation with the CAO and clerk and mayor to another Tuesday of the month within 48 hours notice where possible. So this is where Councillor Dyken's request would come in. This would be a standalone recital. So if there was something else that's surmised other than a holiday or a conference, there's the ability to be flexible with the calendar after it's passed. A maximum postponement of a meeting is no more than 14 days. So for example, when we had the flood, we postponed a meeting to be able to manage the flood. And then we called an emergency meeting to do some work that was required for the flood. But we never did go past the 14 days when we did reschedule the meeting. My recommendation would be that the 2-week window is as sufficient enough time for us to reschedule. Of course, there's always the ability to change that, as you've seen with the previous recital. And no council or committee of council meeting in the month where there's a municipal election for voting. So that would be essentially the month of October, unless the province decides to change that on us. Is there any questions on this?
Councillor Owen?
Yes, through you, worship. When we were talking about canceling meetings, you only mentioned the mayor, but what I have written here is the mayor in consultation with the CAO and clerk may postpone or cancel or reschedule. So is what I have written here, the procedure, not just the mayor can say, oh, I'm canceling a meeting?
Yeah, and typically, well, the mayor has the ability to do it, but we are asking in consultation with the CAO and clerk, because there may be some matters of high importance that may have been seen by the mayor. And we want to make sure that we're not reaching any ability for council to make sound decisions, whether before it decides to choose to cancel a meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Shabba?
Well, through you, your worship, the second from the bottom. Maximum postponement of the meeting no more than 14 days. Just clarification, we do have meetings every 2 to 2 weeks, like, that's 14 days.
Mm.
So if the meeting is postponed, and then we're closing in without 14 days. So with that next meeting will be, what happened with the next meeting?
That's a good question, and it happened it actually happened to us
Yeah,
during the flood. So what we did was we merged, we were able to merge the business from the meeting that was postponed with the regular meeting in that circumstance. However, if the business is too much, based on the conversation between the CEO and the mayor, we may ask for a special meeting to deal with those matters separately, rather than the regular business that would be scheduled for that 2 week period. But for the most part, we've been, well, the one time that we've had to do it, we were able to merge the business together with the other business of that meeting.
May we proceed?
Section 4, routine order of business, page 33. So there's a new order of business established for regular and special meetings. You'll see, there's some asterisks, there's some highlights, so I'd like to explain those to you. So the new order of business, there's a call to order before the land acknowledgement statement. The mayor and I've had several conversations, and it makes it a bit awkward when we're calling the meeting to order after the land acknowledgement statement's been read, and then we have a moment of silence, it's just logistics. You'll hear from me later on. We're planning on putting public meetings before the council meetings start, so that at 4:40, we're starting a public meeting. So where we read the land acknowledgement statement at the public meeting, we won't read it a second time at the regular meeting of council. It would just, it loses the impetus of the rationale for the land acknowledgement statement. And then petitions are to be presented and received by council first. So in the past, petitions were being presented with delegations and presentations. And I think they were a little bit lost, so I'm trying to isolate the petitions from the delegations and presentations, only because the petitions are a formality that would be received by council for information. However, a member will be able to move any action from a petition. But we have seen a lot of members of their community wanting to depute along with their petition. So it gives them an opportunity it gives you the opportunity to formally receive the petition, formally receive a delegation, and then determine whether or not you wanna act upon that petition or delegation after you've received them both. And we wanted to separate the two of them also because there is a definitional difference between petition, delegations, and presentations. And delegations and presentations now is in their own business category. Members' motions is the new considerations of notices of motion. I would try to do this so that you had the flexibility to bring motions both at the meeting and outside of the meeting. Council reports and committees of council / local and regional board updates is the new council reports. And the mayor and I have been speaking quite a bit about this. I'm finding there's like a disconnect between the committees of council and the information that is not necessarily coming through at the council meeting level. And I'm finding this from the review I'm doing for the council committee, the committees of council. And we thought it would be the appropriate place for council to bring back any updates from your appointments on those committees. Not just the local and regional boards, but the actual committees that you sit on for council. So that's why we kind of renamed it. We added a category for proclamations and recognitions. Staff is very well aware that recognitions is going to be coming soon to council based on a motion that was passed for recognition program. We already started seeing recognitions. Proclamation recognitions are kind of very similar in stature. So they would be paired complementarily in the order of business. Additional information, and this is an add-on to what you see. Additional information and will now include and mayor's provincial policy matters. This is what we're proposing because, it was an oversight on my part. When the mayor has the ability under, the Strong Mayor Powers Act, or the Building Homes Strong Mayor Powers Act, to walk an item of provincial policy onto the agenda without a note or comment from council. I thought it would be appropriate for us to have it in this section. And it's also a place marker for myself as your clerk to be able to run through agendas to see how many times we've actually used or been presented with matters of provincial policy. So quite an easy win-win for council and staff. And then recommendations from matters and close is the new matters rising from close, and the disclosures of pecuniary interest will be canvassed and identified under that heading. That's why I crossed it out in your agenda. And we added a category for notices of reconsideration, just so that it's absolutely clear to council that before the meeting ends, you have the ability to ask for reconsideration of any decision that council has made. I think it's important, and I'll touch on that a little later when I'm presenting something else. So if we go to 4.2, I did add a section also. Cause the mayor has the strong mayor powers and has the ability to add something to the agenda. 4.2, I had previously that the business of each meeting shall be taken up in the order in which it is presented on the agenda, unless otherwise formally amended by recorded vote of 2/3 of the majority of council. I also want to add, unless so authorized by any law, or unless otherwise formally amended, because I want to make reference to the mayor's power to be able to place something on the agenda as well. So that's one of the changes that I would like to make to 4.2. And that's about it for the order of business.
Counselor Dykens and then Counselor Shabba.
Thank you, Mayor White, through you, to the clerk, just for, clarification, I'm looking at the numbers. Under 4.1 for the routine order of business. It goes to 7, then it goes.
Yeah, they're all one.
Okay, oh, that's okay, I didn't know if there was.
No,
I didn't mean to.
we had a formatting issue there.
Okay,
Thank you for
no problem.
catching that.
Counselor Shabba.
Yeah, through you, your worship, to the clerk. One from the bottom, second sentence there, unless authorized by, well, what's the reading there?
So it'll be unless so authorized by any law, or unless otherwise formally amended by recorded vote of 2/3 of a majority of council. So the reason why I wanna add unless so authorized by any law.
I understand that.
Yeah.
It just says
And it's
why,
missing.
that's all.
And
It
it's
didn't
missing.
go, it was the word any.
Any,
Oh,
So, sorry, just a point for council members. This is a presentation, it's not the actual wording that we were sent earlier this month. So that's any spelling errors up on the, or
That's-
omissions,
I
yeah.
apologize.
Yeah, that's just a presentation, not actually in our document, so. Mhm. Yes, Counselor Owen.
Yes, through your worship, I see that the moment of silence is not there. I'm just wondering what the rationale for making that decision was.
I was simply looking at other municipal procedural bylaws, and I noted that they did not have a moment of silence. I just removed it, and if there's significance for council to keep it in, I'm impartial to that.
And a follow-up.
Yep, follow up.
Council reports and committees of council, local and regional board updates. Now that's a change. In the wording, but I'm wondering, does that still include if let's say I go to the a community event. And I wanna report back to council and the public that it was well attended and wonderful or whatever. Is that still included in that section there?
Yeah, cause it still says council
Okay.
reports.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify for myself, thank you.
Mhm.
Counselor Dykens?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Not sure what the process is or whatever, but, I think the moment of silence is really important. But I don't know what the rest of council feels about that.
Counselor Shabbat?
Yeah, through you, your worship, to the clerk. Speaking about council reports and all of that. Will there be an option of verbal report or written report without the changes? Because some of the people have a verbal report. And some can opt to have a written report as well. Is that those options embedded in this?
Through Madam Chair, Counselor, members of council have only been given verbal reports since I started working here in 2020. I've never seen a written report. We did get rid of them. We removed them so that you were able to give verbal reports more freely after conferences. If there's a report of a member of council, it should probably go to general committee, a physical written report.
Thank you.
Counselor Dykens?
I'd like to follow up,
Yeah. Yeah, it got jumped fast.
yeah, that's okay. I just, what is, through you, Madam Mayor, to, what is the process? So if we just leave this, it'll come back to us to vote on it at some
Yeah.
point. If we wanted to make an addition, how do we go about that?
So if you want to discuss we're going back to the moment of silence
Yeah.
again, we can discuss it as we did your last,
Okay.
yeah.
I'm just
So-
curious what
Absolutely.
others,
Yeah.
so I think it's really important, but
Mhm. So two members have inquired about the same issue, so definitely I think it's valid, having an open discussion on that, because not only are we making decisions for the rest of our term, but will be, moving forward until the next review, so absolutely. Counselor Owen?
Yeah, I just want to say that the reason I brought it up is because it is important to me. And it's up to any individual, I mean, to do what they want during that moment of silence, but I for me, it's I think it's an important part of the meeting. It's not gonna affect taxes or anything, but you know, it's not gonna pave any of our streets, but as a counselor, I do appreciate that. I have my own routine that I go through during that moment of silence, and that's personal to me and me only. So, if I'm in the minority, the rest of the council doesn't want, that's fine by me. I can do my thing, prior to the meeting.
Counselor Shabbat?
Yeah, to move on, Mayor, I have no objections to that. I think it's not a lot of time that we're talking about here, and it gives people a chance to reflect, and, I mean, maybe mentally get ready for the meeting, so to speak. So I have no objections at all to have that included.
Counselor Kylie?
To you, your worship, and the clerk, I have no objection as well.
So, Madam Chair, through you, if we can add, a moment of silence after call to order, or is everybody okay
Yeah.
if we jump ahead of
Yeah.
it?
Yeah, absolutely. Anything further on those items? Okay, Madam Clerk, we may continue.
Okay, now we are. Can we do that? Is that the one?
Yeah.
Okay, so I printed it, I printed it, I just stapled them the wrong way. So the committee of the whole is an entirely revised section, from what you're accustomed to in your current bylaw. I tried to make it as clear as possible, rather than using double negatives and, stuff like that. Calling of the meeting by the mayor or through council direction, so similar to how it transpired this evening. The meeting chair is as per acting mayor rotation. So rather than having the acting chair appointed annually, or sorry, at the beginning of the term, it will now follow the same as the acting mayor rotation. There's a maximum of 2 hours, per meeting or, need a specific resolution to extend. Members can alter the order of business with the majority agreement of members, so similar to what you're doing this evening. You don't need to have a formal motion to, talk about item 2 before item 1. Any issues or the conduct or disorder or conduct, at the committee as a whole, and then the mayor may take the chair, and it's at their discretion. There's no seconders to motions, there's no motion for reconsiderations, there's no recorded votes, and there's no motion to adjourn. So it's similar to your closed session direction. There's no limitations on speaking or posing questions, but all the members must have had a chance to speak once first. So that's ultimately in a nutshell what it is.
Counselor Dykens?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Same point as last time for the call to order and moment of silence. If that be the will of council.
I'm pretty confident we don't have a roundtable discussion on it.
I will add that to the order of business.
Thank you.
Rob? Okay, next is. And that's a duplicate. Go forward one more. Okay, closed session. Oh, hold on. Go back one. That's where you. The one before. This is the pub, because it says committee of the whole, it should say public meeting. Section 5 routine order of business at page 34 for public meeting. Notable mentions, the public meeting schedules on the same day as council will start before council, and the regular council meeting will follow thereafter. So we will write that it's at 4:40 or 4:50. But if it falls a little bit later than 4:50 because of a public meeting, that's fine. We just wanna make sure that we deal with the public meeting first before we have the regular council meeting start. That's one notable to mention. The mayor shall chair all the public meetings. So we didn't really have any kind of public meeting, anything in the procedural bylaw before. So everything that we are doing right now for public meetings, I've incorporated. And in their absence, it'll be the rotation, in the absence of the mayor, it'll be the rotation as per the acting mayor schedule, and you'll see that throughout. I tried to make it as simple as possible. And the order process, like I said, is as we've been exercising this term. And council may engage in a discussion and change in proposed direction by majority consensus at the meeting. So similar to this type of environment or closed session environment. You can't vote on it, but you can certainly direct staff to change, if you want to change the direction of the, I will say committee and public meeting. So any questions on that?
Any questions on that? None noted.
I'll add moment of silence to the call
Yeah.
to order. Okay, now we are on one more. Closed session. So page 37 of your agenda, completely revised section on closed session. Calling of the meeting by mayor or through council direction, again, section 239, attached to the bylaw schedule C. So when I first started with the municipality, I noticed that not all the sections under section 239 of the municipal act were identified in the bylaw. But then I was compelled to remember that despite there being some missing, the law always prevails over the council procedural bylaw, so we were in good standing, but rather than us having to change the bylaw all the time, if the government changes the methods in which we can go into closed, I said I'll just add it as a schedule, and then I'll have, look for delegated authority from council to be able to update that schedule where required. It identifies only, you can only vote for procedural matters and, the rest is all direction. So the mayor and I had a conversation about this. We've had instances where we've been in closed session and we've had, very close to, this, right on the line for a matter, and it was very unclear to staff. That is where I would say procedurally, we are going to call for a vote, because we just can't discern the direction of council, and you can do that in closed where it's very unclear. So we've done that in a couple of instances and there's no change. Everyone who goes to closed session, must make an affirmation of confidentiality and execute a confidentiality agreement. So that is the document that you signed when you were at the inaugural meeting. And every member of our staff who attends a closed session meeting also signs one of these documents. The CAO designates, which staff are in closed session, so there was a lot of this stuff that was absent from the previous bylaw, so we just wanted to make sure that that language was in there now. And the integrity commissioner is responsible to provide closed meeting investigations, which a lot of you did not know, until we did the RFP, this year or last year. So it's very important that to note that not only are they providing you with municipal conflict of interest act advice, they're also responsible for the investigations of closed meeting appeals. Any questions on those?
Yeah,
Counselor Shabbat.
that's really Madam Chair, the last one. So how would the integrity commissioner, how he or she know what transpired in a closed meeting investigation, closed meetings prior to the investigation? Are you recording the proceedings of those meetings?
No, through you, Madam Chair. So you'll recall the integrity commissioner protocol document that starts the ball rolling for an investigation. It's no different than the MCIA, so you have to fill out that document. The integrity commissioner reviews the document, determines whether or not there's validity to the claim. And then from there on, schedules appointments with staff, schedules appointments with the members of council to get with their recollection of the meeting, and then makes a decision.
For the record?
Yep.
And my point is that since we don't have a formal documentation of what transpired at closed session, is like you just said, they will be calling people to jog their memory to try to say, okay, yeah, that happened, that didn't happen, but there's nothing really recorded.
The minutes and the direction are always recorded. Every direction that council makes is recorded.
Recorded closed session?
Yes, you pass closed session minutes every time you have a closed session.
Recorded.
You're not,
It's not-
you don't have recorded meetings, like you don't have audio, video recorded meetings. You have a record of the meeting, which is the minutes.
Yes,
And my recommendation is that we do not start recording closed session meetings. I'm not comfortable.
example of this,
Yeah,
yeah, I get it, we do have a record of agenda items in closed session. But we don't have a detailed, written, proceeding, who said what by whom? I mean, if someone says something, if I say something that offended Rick and Rick takes me to an integrity commissioner, then there's no record of me saying that I sent the integrity commissioner to ask around.
But there's witnesses.
Yeah, yeah, but I understand that. Witnesses mean you have to talk to you, talk to everyone, right?
Correct.
But there's nothing really. Anyways, that's just.
Yeah, so just from experience from last term, if something occurs in closed session that staff or a question comes up, even with a member of the public or us as council members, we can contact the IC and form that complaint as per the clerk. We fill out. And yeah, then he goes through the investigation of asking questions of everybody that was in the room. And that's how they would determine what happened in that room for that investigation. Yeah, Counselor Owen.
Yeah, through your worship, I was gonna say it's already happened.
Yeah.
Where information from closed session has been used in an integrity complaint and in an investigation by the Integrity Commission. It's really up to the Integrity Commissioners, investigators to determine what they believe happened or didn't happen. You may agree with it, you may not agree with it, but at the end of the day, the Integrity Commissioner makes a ruling. And you have to, I mean, I believe we have to trust the system to be fair and accurate more often than it isn't. So I don't see any change here, because it's, I mean.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I could treat you like
Nope,
during in a meeting. Closed meeting, and you wouldn't be able to do anything about it.
Nothing has changed, just to make it
No,
very
no,
clear.
nothing has
It's
changed,
still
I think it's just
identifying-
fleshing out the idea that if we have experienced it. So certain members have experienced it past. Yep, continue.
The next one. So the next one is committees of council, page 39. Completely revised section of committees of council, remove timeframes on when the manner to publish for vacancies. I feel that that's best suited as part of the committee member appointment policy, which is currently under review. It also bogs, your clerk down during election season to try to get everything all done at once. And you will recall at the last term, you got 7 different reports within 2 meetings for all the things that needed to align. I can do it in well in advance if I'm not stronghold or pigeonholed to do it on a certain date. So that council's not feeling overwhelmed with, and the new council is not feeling overwhelmed, with all of the, procedure. I'm looking to seek authority for to publish the vacancies as they arise, rather than coming to council to get the approval to do so. Recitals 4.3 and 4.4 need to be amended to include, unless officially directed otherwise by the mayor, given the strong mayor powers. So currently the mayor has formally delegated that power back to council, but I need to identify that there's still that authority in the act. Just so that it's there and it's all encompassing. I'm moving to the new stuff. I've been asking for this and it's happened from time to time, but I would like for all the resignations from members of committees of council to be made in writing, received by the clerk's office, so they can formally be received by council. This way you are aware of, and it's a timeline period for us as well too, like we have a recognition program, we want to make sure that we have the proper dates. I think it's important for you to know when your people are interested and when they're vacating seats when you appoint them.
Sorry, Jen, I'm just gonna interrupt you. We do have a question. Councilor Dykens.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, to the clerk. Sometimes we get information about somebody who's interested in a position, but they don't qualify for whatever reason, they don't live in town, whatever. Can that decision be made without us and then just reported to us that somebody applied and they were, but rather than us having to discuss it? Like, I like to see it, I think for accountability, we should see it, but that you already make the determination, they don't qualify.
Through you, Madam Chair. So that is a separate policy that I can certainly amend to have that delegated authority included in there. And it's gonna be all part of the my review for the council composition as well. Committees of council composition as well. So I can certainly bring that back and ask for it to be to be amended accordingly. In the interim, if it's the will of the council to want me to go ahead and make those determinations, could certainly send it through the CAO's office to the whole council after I made that decision. I just don't want to offend council by making the decision, and maybe they wanted to make the decision themselves.
Go ahead, Councilor Dykens.
Madam Mayor, I don't think it's a decision, I think it's a determination that they're not qualified, and we trust you to do that, but also I think we need to see, just for accountability. but yeah, just make that determination.
Personally, I can wait until, as the clerk says, this will be coming back to us,
Yeah.
those kind of issues will be coming back. So I can wait, I don't feel like it's something that needs to be done this evening, but I welcome any further comments from council.
Yeah,
Yeah, until next time.
yeah,
Okay, perfect.
Very good. So where was I here? Okay, no problem. All the terms of reference must be approved by council, so, there was some ambiguity there about terms of reference in the previous, procedural bylaw. And I've identified varying processes to bring amendments to the terms. So there's opportunities for the members, there's opportunities for the staff, and there's opportunities for, the whole, committee. And the process and going through my office or going through the staff liaison and so on and so forth. So it's a lot more robust, so it doesn't leave a lot to the imagination, or, everybody's gonna be working the same. And then agendas must be posted a minimum of 48 hours prior to the meeting. So this has been a status quo we've implemented since the new term. And I like, it should be, and it is a mandatory requirement, that the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act, the Code of Conduct, and the review of committee member appointment policy be done every term. If not more than once a term, but we'll see how that goes with the review. Any questions on these? Okay, section 5. Sorry, I can't see the heading because of the band.
Yeah, section 5.
It's my fault. Page 41 of the agenda. As I mentioned, I know I think it's enumerated as 4, but it should be enumerated as 5. We need clearer and compact, a clearer and compact section. So I broke it down from time of notice, form of notice, and notice during emergencies. So some of the notable mentions or the agendas are, for agendas to be published. We will endeavor the Friday before the TNA meeting, but no later than 48 hours. The process to postpone a matter, we've identified the process to postpone a matter now. That's to defer prior to council considering same at a meeting. We've had circumstances where we've done something and like, why did we do that? Is that in the procedural bylaw? I feel like, oh, we don't have anything there, but this is how we've been treating it. So we tried to beef it up so that it's in there. Time sensitive, urgent, and emergencies are determined by the CAO in consultation with the mayor. So that was another one that we had one section that said nothing, and then another section that said, okay, well, it's the clerk, but I don't think it's the clerk, I think it has to be the CAO, the mayor. And they determine, and then they check with me to see if it's logistically feasible. Any questions on the notice? Good. The next one is section 5, agenda management, so this is a big one. I've identified the page numbers beside the items here. So for agenda management, this is an entirely new rewrite based on, from your previous bylaw. Your previous bylaw was all over the place, it skipped from one thing to the next and the next. I separated it into actual subsections that are easily able to follow when you read it. So your addenda items, you never had anything for addendas in the council procedural bylaw. So I identified the method for walking on items after initial publication of an addenda. I also established a call to order for all the levels of the meeting. All levels of the meetings, so you have your committee of the whole, your committee, code. Sorry, I'm misspeaking here. Your presiding officer for the mayor, your sitting acting chair, or your appointment of your chair or vice chair at the different 3 levels of meetings. So that was at page 45, the land acknowledgement statement. The mayor has delegated authority to change the land acknowledgement statement in consultation with the CAO and the clerk. that was on page 46. Amend the agenda for provincial policy matter discussion, which is on page 47. If the mayor wants to add a matter of provincial policy to be discussed at council, on the agenda, it will be amended to include it under additional information and then the mayor's provincial policy matter. So I drafted paragraph 556 for this, and this is not in your, packages, because I just did it today, because the mayor and I caught it. And I'll read it out to you if you like. So it says, in accordance with subsection 284.10.1 of the Strong Mayors Building Homes Act 2022. If the mayor is of the opinion that considering a particular matter could potentially advance a prescribed provincial priority, the council agenda shall be amended to include the matter under the heading of the regular order of business entitled additional information, mayor provincial policy matters. I just took it right out of the act and tailored it to the procedural bylaw based on the order of business. And then in terms of declarations of conflicts of interest, page 48, any member having declared a conflict, whether in open and closed session, will remove themselves from the council chambers completely to remove any element of perceived conflict. So before, it was at your own volition, whether you wanted to remove yourself at open. But I think there's still that perceived conflict, and my recommendation would be is if you have a conflict in open, that you remove yourself from the chambers to remove the perception completely. That is a new one, that's, if that's something we wanna discuss this evening, that's fine as well.
Counselor Dykens?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just for clarity, is there, I think there's, a difference between conflict of interest and a pecuniary interest? Because I think pecuniary is like if there's a financial, favor for you, but a conflict of interest is a different thing, so I'm just wondering, we're kind of using it interchangeably, like.
No, we are not. So if I go to the definitions, through you, Madam Chair, I wanted to make it, I wanted to discern the differences. So I put them in definitions, so I didn't second here.
I understand that part, but just in this part, they seem to be interchangeable.
In this, and the conflict of interest part,
Yeah,
which specific,
can I speak, Mayor?
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, so it talks about the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act in Code of Conduct.
yeah,
And then the Municipal Conflict of Interest Rate, and then it goes down to 5.6.5, if a member has any pecuniary interest directly there.
Yeah.
So are we declaring conflict of interest or? Like, I always hear it as pecuniary interest.
okay, so I understand what's happening.
Yeah, so that's just my.
So the problem, and then we talked about this as clerks and other forums, that the act is a conflict of interest act, a municipal conflict of interest act, and that gets people away from pecuniary or other. But in this thing, in this section of the procedural bylaw, we have to remember that your disclosure of pecuniary interest is of importance under the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act. Okay, perceived conflict means that somebody from the public may perceive you to have a financial stake in something, and you're sitting around the table, you've removed yourself, but despite having removed yourself from the discussion and debate and the vote, they may perceive you as still influencing the room. So that's the perceived conflict. It's not a conflict of interest, it's a perceived conflict that you have a pecuniary interest while you're sitting around the table, not participating, not voting, not deliberating. However, you're amongst your peers and they're having a conversation about it, so the perception to somebody from the public could be, well, they were still in the room. So did they have any influence?
Yes, Counselor Dykens?
So we just declared pecuniary interest, right?
That's correct.
Okay, that's all I,
Mhm.
I just didn't know.
Yeah,
Thank you.
the strange thing is the way the act is written. It says conflict of interest, versus pecuniary interest.
Right.
I understand. Okay. Okay,
Anything further? Okay, Madam Clerk, you want
Okay.
to continue?
so then I am down to, I'm at civic petitions. So we've been on, oh, yeah,
Sorry, I just wanted to, I flagged, a few things that I just wanted to speak out loud. So under that declaration of conflict of interest, item 5.6.8 states, if a member is absent from a meeting where a disclosure would have been declared, the member shall, at the first meeting in attendance afterward, disclose the interest through a written statement. Disclosure of pecuniary interest form. So I just wanted to say that out loud in a public meeting. I think that's an important point. That sometimes can be forgotten, that if you would have declared, you should still declare.
oh, and I missed, one of the things, cause it wasn't in there. If a member says something different at the meeting than what they've submitted on their form, I have to write what you said in the meeting. So your form needs to be amended to what you actually said. So oftentimes when you file declarations, Amberly and I will go and play the YouTube video.
Yeah.
Just to make sure that we've captured what you actually said versus what you wrote. So if you hear of us coming to you to amend your form, it's not because we're trying to make a thing of it, we actually have to by law make sure that the things match up. For the registry, which is a requirement under the law. So that was the last piece on the conflict of interest.
Okay, Madam Clerk, Councillor Owens.
Excuse me.
Yes, your worship. If I'm not at a meeting, I'm not voting. I'm certainly not influencing people in the room. I think I know the reason for this, but I'd like to hear what the rationale is behind. You know,
I can
that
take that.
section on
Yeah,
having to disclose at your next meeting that you would have had a pecuniary.
Madam Clerk, can you correct me if I'm wrong, pecuniary interest is before, during, and after. So you're attesting that you haven't interfered before, during, or after, right?
That's correct. And it is specifically enshrined in the law that says that you must. Yeah.
No, I just wanted a public
Yeah.
explanation of that.
Yeah.
It at first glance appears to be a little
Mhm.
strange.
Absolutely.
Okay, moving on to civic petitions, or did you want me to read for?
No.
Or?
No, you can go ahead.
So we've been operating like this since 2022. I put in an entirely new section. Again, the petitions must be certified by my office. Petitioners must be at least 18 years old, residents or businesses or unincorporated associations having a majority of municipal, their membership as residents. It sets out the minimum requirements, so minimum 2 wet signatures of the residents. And then all petitions are gonna be received by you for information purposes. And it's the responsibility of you as members, to bring a member's motion or to give notice of motion to action those petitions. And also within the, procedure, there's a, paragraph that identifies the encouragement to direct that an information report, from administration be prepared relative to those petitions, because you may not have all the technical information or the legislative information in front of you before you make a decision on something that's being petitioned to you. So it's always important to remember that there could be some lawful, critical information that you're missing when you're being presented something from the public. You may have a barrier, or there may have been a presentation of a barrier and there no longer, and there doesn't exist a barrier, so you wanna make sure that you get all that information, right? We've been encouraging, if they want to delay the publishing of their, petition, because they want their primary petitioner to come and, depute, then that's fine, there's a process for that. But you will receive the petition before, like, I will get it, I certified, you will get it in advance, it just won't make itself on an agenda until that a person comes to depute, similar to the one that you just received. Council, okay, we've been here, direction, reports to municipal delegations and minutes of council decisions. So only one change for council decisions. It's getting a bit hard for me to do the council decisions every 2 weeks, so I'm proposing to do them once per month before the end of the month, and this allows for them both to be in the municipal update. I think the municipal update has received a lot more hits than our Facebook page when it came to council decision postings. So I'm proposing that we go once per month before the end of the month for those. Clear process and establishing. Going to the reports from municipal officers and staff, we've created a clear process in establishing and the preparation surrounding the approval and publication of reports to council. It also speaks to the CAO having the ability to submit the addendas up to 4 p.m., 4:40 p.m., or I guess that'll be 4:50 p.m. But the day before the meeting, clear process on the presentation of reports such as who is presenting, including the clerk's office reading the recommendation when the presenter addresses council. We included also the call of third parties to assist with reports by staff. And my office would have the final say on who those third parties come to closed session for this. Of course, that would be based, I would be reporting those decisions to the CAO and the mayor as we always do. You've identified. For readings, oh, I'm not there yet. We're still on reports from municipal officers and staff.
Sorry, Madam Clerk, I'm
yeah.
just gonna pause for a question, Councillor Owen.
Yeah, can I go back to petitions for a second, through you, your worship? Petitions can only be made by anyone who is at least 18 years old. Unless that's a legal requirement.
That's a legal requirement.
Okay, because, I mean, we have youth in this community, and maybe they want to do skateboard park, or track and field, or whatever. Well, that's not the point. The point is that we're excluding them from the democratic process. But if that's a provincial regulation, then I understand.
Through you, Madam Chair, so similar to voting you in office, youth under 18 would not be able to vote you into office. Therefore, the petition, I believe, is the same, of the same stature. Nothing precludes a youth committee or a series of youth to, like Councillor Ranger had mentioned, gain primary petitioner with an adult to bring forward a petition to council.
Although.
Yep.
Can they sign the petition then?
No, but if there's 2 wet signatures of residents that are,
Yeah.
that's all they need.
It's very similar to people outside of Kirkland Lake can't be counted either. But I do believe that individuals under 18 can delegate to council, can they not?
Absolutely. Yeah, doesn't have to be a petition, but they can
Yeah.
certainly present or delegate, still do have that ability.
Thank you.
In terms of still on the reports from municipal officers and staff. We've identified clear language on members, no debating with municipal officers, staff, third parties present on the subject matter reports. There was nothing before. In terms of the reading and consideration of bylaws section, page 54. The bylaw section has been specifically cleaned up to explain the 3 readings. So moving forward, as soon as this bylaw's passed, you're going to be receiving 2 resolutions for each bylaw that you pass for that specific reason. And this will allow you, so you'll be presented with one for the first and second reading and one for the third reading. This will allow council to be prompted to know that after the reading of the first and second reading is their only chance to change or amend a bylaw. Once we get to the third reading, it's simply the calling of the vote. So it'll clearly delineate when that time is that you can engage in a discussion about, we'll pump the brakes or we wanna make an amendment, so on and so forth. And then a new section. That's it for the readings and consideration of bylaws. The new section for council reports and committees of council and local regional boards updates. We created that, to provide for discussion, to identify mayor reports and to identify what council does with the, information. If members do not simply want to receive for information, like the petitions and the motions, they'll be required to identify through a member's motion or through a notice of motion their intent to action something out of that. So, for example, you have a committee of council that has made a recommendation to council outside of like a CIP or community grants or anything like that, but they're wanting to lobby council for something. LSPs, for example. If it's the will of council to want to action that recommendation, that member or a member around the table must bring a notice of motion or a member's motion to do something with that recommendation, which falls outside of a normal scope of requests. So that's information's now in there. I think that's it for that. Now I'm looking at proclamations and recognitions at page 57.
Sorry, Jen.
Yeah.
We did discuss, the clerk and I did discuss today, changing the words. Each member may
Oh, yes.
do the
sorry.
report to each member shall do the reports. I do believe that a discussion can happen around this table tonight to support, my choice in changing those words. The reason why I changed the words from you have the option to do it to you should do it is we get paid to be council members and we should be reporting the work we do. So every council meeting, I invite all members of council to speak about committees that they've attended, events that they've attended, etc. And I do believe that is part of our accountability to the people that we serve. We should be telling them when we attend our meetings, what, anything important that comes out of any council meetings, public events, trips that we take. I think we owe members of the public to give reports. Other communities actually, instead of referring to their committees as committees, they refer to them as portfolios. So they're given that portfolio at the beginning and they are responsible for that portfolio. And I think changing the wording will make future council feel that responsible as well for the committees and events that they partake in for their remuneration. Councilor Ranger.
Through you, Madam Mayor, for more effective vocalization in that section, can it be understood that one representative could state what other council members are at that meeting so that just for continuity of not regurgitating the same thing, i.e. like the Tech Pioneer meeting, there's 3 of us. Instead of each one of us, could it be that we decide which one of us at the next meeting will state that
Well, and I think,
these members attended,
Mhm.
and then that way the other 2 don't have to say, I also went to that meeting, I also went to that meeting.
well, and I think it's really up to
Yeah.
members of council how they choose to report, because oftentimes you notice myself, I'll just list. This is the things that I did with no further details given, but I think it's important that we do start actually saying what we're doing for our people.
Okay.
Councillor Shabba?
Yeah, through you, your worship, I don't have a problem with the language change. But my problem is that, some of the information that may be coming to us as council members. May be too late, maybe in the media already, and all of a sudden we're coming here and telling us what we already know. So in instances like that, I think, for us to really save time, there is no need for that, member of that committee to be telling us what has happened in that, and I know. I mean, you guys are doing a good job, this, telling us what's happening, but sometimes some of that information that are out there in the media, it's not new, or sometimes, really. Germane to the business of the corporation, so shall, I think I'm a little bit leaning towards that, but I think it's something that's actually germane to what we're doing here, and something that's not really out there in the media already, that we already know. As well, you guys figure that out, I guess, some numbers. And I share your, thoughts to it, but, you have, multiple members on the same committee, they shouldn't come here and be telling us the same thing, because they're all there really, unless they can get together and say, well, okay, I'm gonna take out this top item, and you take out the middle, I take out the bottom, something like that. Fine, but again, there's no need for people to be saying the same thing over and over again, so.
Counselor Owen and Counselor Dyken.
Through you, your worship, as somebody who worked in communications for 35 years, it's my firm belief that people have different places where they access information. And the more times you get the information out through the most possible sources of media, the higher chance you reach a broader market. I'm not worried about if somebody's already heard it on the radio or read it in the paper. There are people that don't listen to the radio, there are people that don't read the paper, there are people that don't go on the internet. This is one more, but they may watch our meetings. So this is just one more avenue to get the message out. And as per only one person reporting, I will use DSAB as an example. We cover a lot of stuff in that meeting. And what I might consider vital to report to council and through council to the public may be different from Pat, who attended the same meeting and found that other issues at that same meeting were vitally important to residents of Kirkland Lake. I've always tried to give reports when there's reports that are there to give. Now, in terms of TPR, sometimes there's really not a lot that we could report. I mean, occupancy, there's really.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
Council Ranger knows, like, a lot of those meetings, there's nothing really to
Yeah.
report.
So there is nothing in the wording saying what you have to report. It can be simply, I attended a TPR meeting. If there's nothing mind blowing, you don't have to make something up. You just say, I attended, because like at our meetings are what we get paid for. As much as like people stop us at the grocery store, walking the dog or whatever, this is why we're getting remuneration, these meetings, because this is what we're moving the business forward with, right? So it just, to me, this is what we should be reporting to the community, that this is why you're paying me. And here at this table, not so much this table, because we're at the committee of the whole, but council table is where we should be telling our people through this, through YouTube and that what we're doing for them, council, in my opinion. Councillor Dykens?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Maybe it's not necessary to say it, but, like I'm on the Economic Development Committee, and we consider applications for 2 different, and the director comes and says what we do, so I can say, yeah, I attended it, but I'm just not.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's enough. I think it's important, especially for members that are just joining us this term. Were you completely aware of everything council member was responsible for? Because prior to us, we never did that. We never told members of the public, I went to this committee, I did this event's coming up. That's something new to this term, and it helps the people that will come next as well after us to understand the scope of the job, scope of why we're elected, in my opinion. That's why I just requested that change from may to shall, because I think it's important for accountability.
Just to dovetail on that, it's council, mayor and council's responsibility for factual dissemination, so council's committee business is the appointed members' responsibility to report upon to council, not the media. So I wanna make it very clear, the media, how great they are, may not be the correct information that is going out to the public, so the member of council it will behoove them to make sure that they're reporting to the council that information that they got from that meeting. And you had also suggested removing if so desired in 512(3), if we were using the word shall.
Yeah.
There. Am I moving on?
I
Okay.
think so.
So proclamations, page 57, are approved based on the mandate and the strategic goals of Kirkland Lake. Individuals cannot make a proclamation, but individuals can reach out to a member of council and can make a request for a proclamation on behalf of that individual, subject to approval. So we talked about that, the mayor and I, because there was no mechanism for individuals to be able to make proclamations, however, there is opportunities to go through members of council. So all moving forward, like we have been doing, all proclamations are gonna be read at the regular meetings. Council's gonna sanction them. This is what we've adopted this term, so it's status quo. And all the requests for proclamations are coordinated through my office. Where possible, requests should be made a month in advance, so if you're hearing from people that wanna make a proclamation in town, a month goes by quick, especially if you have to gather information from people. And if you're looking for a draft proclamation, they may need a week or two to draft some language, because we make them provide us with some draft language. Recognition, ceremonial presentations of awards, they're scheduled here as well. A recess may be called for official signing, or formal photography opportunities. And then. Nothing's really changing from closed. Recommendations for matter in closed session, the heading will need to be changed, nope, this is not the right one. Oh, no, sorry, closed session. The recommendation from the ombudsman report that were outstanding have now been met with paragraph 515(3). Which we've been exercising since the new term of council, so the 10-minute recess with the media, post questions from council to close is now built in the procedures. Third parties who want to attend council will be subject to approval by the CAO in consultation with the clerk. For committees of council, staff liaison shall be required to consult with the clerk's office prior to creating closed session meetings for committees of council to ensure eligibility of having the said meeting. No closed session meetings shall be recorded electronically. All members who participate electronically are subject to the new regulations noted in Schedule C. So video on, audio on, nobody in the room. Integrity of the meeting preserved. Process for coming out of closed where there are matters to be dealt with in open has been established to include disclosure of pecuniary interest provision, as I mentioned before. And we also identify how the matters are to be enumerated in the minutes, because there was no rhyme or reason before, it was just, we were trying to establish a process. In terms of the notice of reconsideration, which is at for those that are made at the same meeting, no more written notice required if you're doing it at the same meeting or at a subsequent meeting. So if you're doing it at a subsequent meeting, you need to give me written notice by noon on the Wednesday prior to. A 2/3 majority recorded vote passed the motion to reconsider. Nothing's changed from the last time we had this discussion. Then the question on the main motion is returned to the table for council to consider. And then motions after they are decided shall not be reconsidered for a period of 12 months. We had 6 months before, I have 12 months now. 12 months is the, yeah, I'll say industry standard. I've been seeing across from municipalities. Now, again, doesn't preclude council from looking procedure if it wants to do that. We've seen that too, very recently. Confirmatory, will be presented for all three readings at once and shall be voted on without debate. And when the mayor addresses an adjournment, a member of council will second the adjournment of business of council in accordance with Robert's rules, unless, of course, a member moves to adjourn a meeting prior to the call of the adjournment, at which time the mayor will just call for it. So there's some misconception about whether or not we need a seconder to close a meeting of council. A meeting of council is not a committee of the whole meeting. So your business ends at that meeting. You start your business, you approve your agenda, the way your business is A to Z. And then once you get to the bottom of the business, you close the meeting. It's different than committee of the whole, where you can have a standing committee of the whole and just have a mover to adjourn, and then, you know, you take up where you left off at the last meeting. But when a meeting of council is done, it's done. Otherwise, if we don't get a seconder or we don't close the meeting, it's just a revolving meeting. So that's the technicality of it all, so that's why we're asking for that. So that's agenda management. Any big one is agenda management, so if there's not any questions about that. Section 6 on deputations and presentations, again, we created a specific section. All deputations and presentations are received by council for information purposes. There's no change on the process in 2025. And members must take it upon themselves to give notice of a motion or to bring a member's motion if they want to action something from a deputation or presentation. I will say, item 6.10, a maximum of 5, and then it says 3 deputations. It's actually supposed to be 3. This would render council's meeting a minimum of 30 minutes simply to receive the deputations without question period. So I think 30 minutes of your time during business is a good compromise. If you want to increase that, it's by all means do so. But you're not just, you're 30 minutes plus just for 3. Members must pose questions of clarification on the presentation, not introduce new ideas or new topics. I've noticed that we all have that lovely ability to try to introduce new ideas or topics when we're talking with members that are deputing to us. It's supposed to be for clarification on the presentation only, and just a matter of clarity. There's no debate with deputies or presenters unless there's a situation of decorum that is raised. And again, it's the same thing for, it's pretty clear, try to reduce the legalese language and make it more straightforward, English, clear, black and white, no gray, or clear as mud. Any questions about the deputations or the presentations? Okay. Town hall meetings, this is a new thing. Kind of a new creation of a public consultation thing. Mayor's really excited about this. So when I was in North Bay, we had town hall meetings and they were quite informative. We, at the beginning, it was slow taking because as natural evolution is, but it provides for residents to come and see you. The mayor has suggested 4 times a year, maybe once a season, to try to come and talk to you about 3 minutes about their gripes or their accommodations or whatever. We're gonna try to set up one of those 4 meetings at Riverside Community Center so that you can be seen in the community, not just at at the council chambers, but also outside of the council chambers. And within the other members of your constituency. The mayor will determine the dates, the time and the locations. I will give you ample notice. The maximum is 2 hours in length. We said if we did not get any participants, we would wait, I think it's 15 or 20 minutes, and then we would fold it up.
Councilor Ranger.
Could I also suggest that Civic on the ice might be a good location, just based on residents that I suspect might come out if it was in close proximity, and transportation is a challenge, it being Riverside.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not in the winter though.
We wouldn't be able to. Town halls will be recorded and available on YouTube. There are no minutes. Absolutely no minutes. So it's just, just YouTube. I love that. I love that and I don't, cause I'm starting to take some notes. There's no registration to participate, so I forgot to remove 7.16. I have to remove it because that speaks to registrations. I don't want any registrations. Now, we have capacity limitations in some of our buildings. If we were to get a large number of participants, we may wanna suggest that we have an extra town hall to hear the balance. Because we just have, if we're not gonna take registration, then we won't have any mechanism to learn how many people wanna come and speak. So people will have to have patience with us as we work through the kinks of the process. It would be 3 minutes to speak, there's no speaking a second time. There would be no town halls during an election year. And all information would be received by council for information only. Again, actionable only by member, motion or notice of motion, by council. Any question about town hall meetings?
Counselor Kylie and then Counselor Owen.
through you, your worship. I don't agree with 4 times per year. I think that's all. Sorry,
You've been censored.
sorry, sorry about that. I think 2, 3 times a year is equivalent. 4 times is overkill. You're not gonna get people showing up. That's my opinion.
I appreciate that. The wording is up to. So we don't
Okay.
definitely have to have 4, but 4 is the max. Yeah. Counselor Owen?
Yes, through you, your worship, to the clerk, and it's just out of curiosity, any of these town hall meetings in North Bay get out of hand or require, like, I'm not suggesting that would happen in our beautiful town, but I'm just curious. I'm in favor of these town hall meetings, by the way. I think the public should have as much chance as possible to express their opinions, good and bad, but just out of curiosity.
There you, Madam Mayor. I will say there, before I get to answering that question. There was a deputation that was made at a town hall for a skate park. And the town did get funding and accepted a skate park. And there was a lot of traction over the skate park. And that came from a town hall. That being said, like every other place, we have, our frequent people that like to come and compute and provide us with their opinions. And sometimes skirting the rules of regular procedure may find its way in a town hall meeting. But the rules of decorum are followed in the town hall meetings, so nothing precludes the mayor or I to remove somebody from a meeting if they are not above board.
Counselor on follow up and then.
Yeah,
back to-
I just, at the North Bay, town hall, or, town hall meetings, did the city have to pay for extra, security or anything like that?
Through you, Madam Mayor, no, the town halls were accepted at the time of COVID. So it was video,
Yeah.
participation. And as far as I know, like, they have security detail in the building because they're merged with DSAB, so it's natural security. But for the most part, if we found there was going to be a contentious issue, we would either contact the police or we would contact bylaw enforcement, or we would have other members of our senior management team that would be available to assist us during the meeting.
Thank you.
Counselor Kylie?
Yeah, to you, your worship. If I recall, North Bay did have a town hall meeting, based on the mayor's expense report.
Yeah,
Recent turned into a real poo-poo show. Are there any rules of decorum?
Yeah, so through you, Madam Chair, the rules of decorum of your regular meetings apply to your town hall meetings. So the presiding chair can nip that in the butt. And it's not, it's, I think the things that are happening in other municipalities. People are trying to find any avenue to try to get a message across. I think Kirkland Lake, we need to focus on how we can get people out to come to council and be interested in your business and the things that you're doing. And to encourage people to have another forum to talk to you about the things they would like to see in their community. So I don't wanna pigeonhole us and, you know, a negative way. I think there's a lot of possibilities that can happen with town hall. It could also take a long time for it to catch, but it's an opportunity as another public consultation forum for all of you to hear from your constituents and hear what they have to say about how they want the things ran in the community.
Counselor Ranger and then Counselor Owen.
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. You know what? I think it would be a great opportunity. That we don't stay in this safety bubble of a council office. And yeah, we gotta hear the ugly, and I'm not taking it as, I don't take it as a negative. That's some of the skills and abilities you need to have as a counselor, and to learn, so. Yeah, that's great to hear, thanks.
Counselor Owen.
Yes, this will be my last question, I promise. But then again, I'm a politician, so. Is this a one-way meeting where people make presentations and council discuss? Okay,
Yeah, similar to delegations through you, Madam Chair. This is a one-way meeting. There's no arguing.
good, good.
There's no arguing, there shouldn't be any belittling. It should be information requests.
Counselor Shabbat.
Yeah, through Madam Chair, it's duration is two. The duration is 2 hours, that's it, right?
Maximum, yes.
Maximum, yes. So, like, you can't go past 10 PM, so.
Yeah,
Yeah,
depending on when the time is, depending on when the time starts, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
so just for clarification, in your report as well as in the documentation, it says none within the year of an election. So that runs from January of 2026 to December 31st, 2026.
Yes, so we would try,
Or would it not be?
so none next year,
Okay,
but we're gonna try to get one done for this.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I should have said.
No, that's okay.
It's committee of the whole, so you can be a little.
Yeah.
More relaxed, you don't have to,
Yeah,
yeah,
we're okay.
I'm sorry, I took it as. The year coming up to election, so it would actually have been. October of 2025
Five.
to October of 2026.
it's
So then,
January first.
Really, eh?
to December
Even after the election,
Well, the election is in October
Right.
of 2026,
yes,
okay, so January 1st, 2026.
yeah, I thought it would have been.
To December.
October 2025 to October
no.
2026,
No,
because
It's the calendar.
who cares after the election?
yeah, it's a
Got it.
calendar year.
Calendar.
Okay.
Yeah, because a lot of the work up to a nomination period is from January to March. Cause May is nomination.
Yeah.
And it would be very difficult if, you know, and it would be seen potentially as somebody using that
Yes,
platform.
That's
for
why I
their
thought it was-
campaign, right?
October.
Yeah,
So we're trying to avoid that
Yeah.
altogether.
Yeah.
yeah, so we're gonna attempt to have at least 10 before
Mhm.
the end of the year. Counselor Shabbat.
Yeah, through you, Madam Chair, this item 717, maybe for clarity, it's maybe within the calendar year. Yes. You want.
Okay, well, I don't wanna say in the calendar because if the municipal act changes,
Mhm.
then I have to change this. So to me, when it says within the year of a municipal election, the year of a municipal election is 2026. Right? So that to me is very clear. if it's okay with all of you.
Yeah,
Yeah. okay.
yeah, that's why I wanted to say it out loud. Counselor Ranger?
So one last thing through you, Madam Mayor, I would also recommend Northern College's auditorium as an appropriate location to have this.
Yeah, I was also thinking somewhere out in Bernhardt Moorside if there's a area. Honestly, I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but
We will talk about
locations.
locations, and
Yeah,
maybe what I'll do is instead of,
I only think of like
Specific.
accessibility
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
sound systems for microphones and
Yeah.
such.
we can try to, maybe I'll just take one meeting and I'll just say, we'll try to set up meetings at other
various
locations.
locations,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, that
Okay.
sounds good. Yeah. Mhm.
Anything else on this?
Nope.
Okay. Excuse me, section 8, roles and duties, what's changed, page 70. Excerpts will be published right from the act for the role of the mayor as a schedule, and the duty of the mayor, section has been created. Is there any? It's the same thing for page 73 for the role of council and the duty of council section. Any questions about those? It's simply from the act. If, section 8 at page 75 was the act for the duty of the CAO as a schedule, including specific duties for the town of Kirkland, Lake Council in a new section. Any questions about that? Okay. Section 8, for the roles and duties of clerk, so there's the excerpts right from the act for, as a schedule for the duty of clerk, and then the role of clerk is in a new section. Any questions on that? Okay. And then we created a new section, page 79 for the established role of the administration, which is our senior management team. Is there any questions on it? Okay. I don't wanna go into great detail about the rules of debate, motion and voting, cause I did spend a considerable amount of time. Removing legalese and making it very clear. Page 80 of your agenda. Your motions now, I've created points of order, I've created clear language on your different types of motions. Your clear language on your points of order. General information, examples and procedures for points of order, points of privilege. And verbal motions and written motions. I've provided you with clear language on voting and the procedure of voting as per the current council. Is there any questions about the voting? The rules of debate, motion and voting.
Interesting.
And then section 9, which is page 87 of your agenda, is the members' motions. Again, I said is a new subsection, straightforward language, replaces your considerations of notice of motion. Brings you the ability to bring a motion at a meeting or out of a meeting. Complex motion requiring CAO and clerk assistance, give yourself 2 weeks prior to the presentation of a motion to allow for refining your text. We talked about that today. All motions, texts and seconders must be received by noon the Friday prior to publishing. And specific language on how to remove a member's motion from an agenda is now included in this section. Is there any questions about that? Okay. Council correspondence, page 90 of your agenda. A bit of change here, the email circulation is getting to be a bit daunting for me. I get about 500 emails a day and I'm not able to keep up and giving you them on a consistent basis. So I've revisited how I'm gonna give you the correspondence in a way that is more fulsome and more timely. General correspondence will be shared once per month at the end of the month. Time sensitive matters will be shared as they are received or within 24 hours of next business day. Invitations will be shared as they are received or within 24 hours or next business day, individually, no longer as one email. Surveys will be shared as they are received or within 24 hours or next business day, individually, no longer as one email. Council training and education will be shared once per month at the end of the month. General correspondence addressed to mayor and council shall be shared within 24 hours or next business day. Formal complaints pertaining to operations will be redirected to the CAO unless the CAO requested it be redirected to council for information, and the same for the enforcement complaints. Correspondence on open procurement addressed to council will not be shared with council and be redirected to the procurement manager and the CAO. And letters of endorsement or resolutions that we get from associations and other municipalities will be shared once per month at the end of the month. And members are responsible for bringing motions or giving notice of motion on these items. Any questions about that?
Councillor Piley?
Your worship, just one comment. I appreciate you get 500 emails. Councillors must get about 400. Useless to us. We just hit the old delete button, cause I couldn't. I'd have to spend 3 hours a day going through all the correspondence we get. It's ridiculous. All these different groups sending information. It's useless to us. I don't know how we can cut that back. But it's not good. It's overdone. Just my comments. I don't read them, I just delete. There might be some good stuff in there, but I don't. I have a life.
Okay, you may proceed.
Okay. I think the next one is the same. Before we get to question. I did not put a slide for rules of conduct. Because I didn't feel like I needed to. But there's been no changes to rules of conduct, it's the same rules of conduct that you had before. The only thing that the mayor and I discussed was we were going to take out standing before the mayor stands to leave the room at the end of a meeting. It's not necessary.
Yeah, no, otherwise we've broken the rules since the, yeah,
Since the beginning.
yeah. The chair is the only person that has a job after the meeting, cause they have to sign the paperwork, so otherwise. We've
Yeah,
broken the
so
rules.
that's 10.1.8,
Yeah.
we're gonna get rid of.
Yeah,
10.2 was
10.1.8.
language, so just a reminder that, we do serve the province, we do serve. As, public servants, we should not speak ill of the crown, of the royal family, of the governor general, the lieutenant governor, or any minister of the crown. So just a reminder, and it's the same thing, it's the rules of order, for presiding officer, any member of staff, any member of council, we know what the rules are, we, everybody to, get along. And then there was the vetoing bylaws through strong mayor powers, and I didn't do a slide for this because we did go, I did a standard operating procedure, but this is the standard operating procedure in the council procedural bylaw, because I got it from another municipality, it was so well done, and it's the way that we're going to use every time, if there is a time that we have to do that. And then there's a bunch of schedules that are not attached, but you do have the electronic participation at meeting schedules, and we've been, for the most part, following this to a T. The only thing that I request is that if we're gonna be in electronic participation mode, I'd like to see a video, we'd like to see your audio. If you don't have any audio for electronic issue reasons, you will be asked to say your vote in verbal. And if you can't do your verbal vote, then you will not be counted towards the vote. That is the,
yeah,
ultimately the end of that.
yeah, and the clerk and I talked about that today. It's in the best interest of the municipality that it's only if you're having technical issues getting your video camera working. It's not, it shouldn't be a choice by choice. If you're attending a meeting, you're attending a meeting virtually. We should be able to see your face unless there's technical issues. Councilor Ranger?
Yes, thank you through you. This should have come up when we're talking about closed session. But if somebody's attending by closed session, they need to pan the room with their camera so that we can confirm that they are in their space alone. Because we could leave ourselves to subject, this comes up quite common at the college with test taking, so it just triggered that might be a step that you add to
Through
But
you,
they have
Madam
to
Chair.
confirm that they're in a private room or vehicle or whatever.
That's a fair point through you, Madam
Mhm.
Chair. I'm not going to particularly ask the members to start panning their room. I think everybody around the table signs an oath of office, everybody signs a confidentiality agreement. I trust that you all understand that what happens in closed session stays in closed session. And there shouldn't be anybody around you, near you, or from earshot that can hear what's going on at the town. Especially because you're being held to make these decisions from a closed court way. So I won't ask that, but if you are within earshot, I always say best rule of thumb is to wear earphones. Yeah, cause at least half of the conversation now is unknown. But if that's the case, then you should probably come to the chambers to have your meeting or find yourself a place where you can be completely isolated and not be participating in the meeting. Cause the integrity of the meeting is everything, you know, like, I know all of you have heard me say it. I don't feel comfortable having this meeting, okay, well then let's wait.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Counselor Chapman?
I actually, through you, Madam Chair, you spoke, to what I'm about to say about the item number 3.4. And as Secretary spoke to the, remember to maintain the integrity of the confidential acts. But put it and discuss, so maybe you have to use up to you to do whatever you have to do. To make sure, and planning, you may plan at the beginning of the meeting, but then anybody else can be there in the middle of the meeting or at the end of the meeting, but to tell the members, so. Make sure that things like that will not happen.
I've had a situation in another municipality where everything was good, and in the middle of the meeting, a spouse came into the view and we had to stop the meeting, because in plain sight, somebody is now in the meeting. This was COVID times, right, so, a lot of stuff like that, and then we learned from those situations, and that's why we have these parameters in place, and we do the best that we can, and we know that things happen from time to time, but this is why we have the integrity commissioner, this is why there are rules and regulations around all this stuff, so that's the end of my presentation for today.
Brilliant, brilliant. So sorry, I did take notes of things that I did wanna note. That I was excited about because everybody knows how much I love good documents. One of the new things that I think that we forgot to mention were the event presentations. To promote upcoming community events or recognition of community members of organizations. So that's been added as well, so organizations and groups can come and let us know what's coming on in the community, so that's pretty exciting. Oh, yes, these new procedures give council members more opportunities to chair meetings and increase their knowledge of being in the head of council. So I really think that's important and I really appreciate that. The civic petitions, we did hit on that quite hard. And the fact that there is explicit instructions on how we are to engage with members coming to us. The new wording on the monthly summary, it was something that the decisions of council, it had started previous to Madam Clerk, but she has definitely honed it, and I do appreciate it that it's in writing and it will continue. And then, of course, the most important additions, as Madam Clerk said, is those town halls, and I'm really sincerely looking forward to that. So thank you, you and your staff for the hard work on this. It was a huge undertaking going from this document to this document. So brilliant work. I do appreciate that. Anything else from members of council? Okay.
Yes, I have a question.
Yeah.
I do, what you just said, especially about the town hall meetings. I don't think I've attended one since I've been on the council, maybe in a while, so to come back, that would be really nice. So having said that, are we gonna see one meeting by the end of the year?
Yes, so town meetings is something brand new.
Yes.
And yes, we are going to attempt to have at least one before the end of the year.
Okay.
So we can experience it before, we're not allowed. Come January 1st. Anything else from members of council? Okay, adjournment?
You want to read the direction?
Oh, sorry, yes.
Oh, like reread what I read?
Yeah.
Committee recommends that administration be directed to make the necessary changes to the proposed, council procedural bylaw as amended by committee. And that administration conduct a survey available to the public between August 29th, 2025 and September 12th, 2025 on the proposed bylaw as updated. And that a public meeting be held on Tuesday, September 16th, 2025 at 4:40 PM to allow for the public to comment on the proposed bylaw as updated. And finally, that the proposed bylaw as updated and the results of the survey be presented for 3 readings at the September 16th, 2025 regular meeting of council.
So directed. Okay, item number 4, adjournment, seconded by Councilor Ranger. Thank you, everyone.